Okay, well, this has been really exciting. You know, I've actually been on the road with this show since 2011. My father passed in 2006. I started workshopping the show in 2007, decided it was ready to tour in 2011, and I've been going ever since. And it's just really grown. It's amazing, these small towns all across the country have not stopped asking me to bring my show, and it's such a thrill and an honor for me to be asked to come here and do these shows and meet people. Now I have a book which I wrote, and you know, people kept telling me for years, you should write a book about your dad. And I said, I don't know how to write a book. I mean, I'm not an author. But I just sat down one day, and because I had interviews from people back in Morgantown that knew him growing up and whatever, and it just started to flow. And what's nice about the book, I can get into more detail in the book. The show is, it's storytelling and punchlines and things like that, but with the book, I can really get into some details and nuances of my father's character, what he was like to live with, what it was like growing up in Beverly Hills with him, all of that.
And so what are some things that people can kind of expect with your show?
Well, I go into, first of all, I talk about his growing up, which was kind of mythology in itself. I mean, people already know all these things about him, which is really amazing. They know that he was a ventriloquist, but they don't know a lot of the background, which is what I fill in. And that's quite a remarkable story about how he overcame the Great Depression to become this amazing comedian, went on to World War II to be in the Army show with his ventriloquist dummy, and then the days in New York, which is all live television, and the excitement of that, and how he was a hypochondriac. So he would be so nervous about the live television that he would think that he was sick, but it was nerves. And back then psychiatrists weren't too popular in the 1950s. But my mother prevailed, and she got him to see a psychiatrist. So he started to get a handle on it then.
And so, with you being able to do the show and things like that, did you follow along with your father in his footsteps with comedy?
Yeah, but he didn't want me to go into the business at first. He said it's a lonely life for a child, and also he knew a lot of people that were struggling to get in the business, and they didn't make it. And he really felt sorry for them, and he didn't want that to happen to me. But anyway, he put me on his variety show, which people don't know that my father had his own variety show. He only lasted a season or two, but he actually put me on there when I was 16 years old, and I show a clip from that in my show, which is really special for me.
Is that the same? I saw a clip earlier where he was singing to you. Is that the same?
Yeah, that's part of it. There's another part of it too, in the beginning part.
And so you're going to a couple of different places. And so you talked about with the book, and you showed like some scenes behind the. You talk about what behind the scenes.
Yes, I do talk about what it was like to be on the set of the Andy Griffith show as a child, and what those characters were like, meeting them in person, and how everything struck me as a child. All the actors, they were just so kind and so real and so different from the characters they played. So that was really interesting for me.
And from the perspective of him being your father, how does it make you feel to be able to bring this to the world?
Oh, it's amazing. It's truly amazing that all these years later, I mean, the show went off the air. I mean, not the show went off the air, but it never went off the air. But like 70 years later now, the last black and white episodes were filmed. Millions of people are still tuning in. I'm not talking about once a week, but daily. Daily, every night, still in demand. It's unbelievable, really, especially with all the thousands of shows on TV now, they still watch this show. So it's really a thrill, and it's an honor for me to come here and be a part of their enjoyment.
What's some of your favorite shows that your dad was in?
Well, my dad and I, we had the same favorites. We liked Barney and the Choir. We liked Barney's New Car, The Pickle Story. Those are all the classic episodes, and also several more that were sweet and touching, involving Opie, and all the one. Opie was such a great character, and Andy was very different, and than his character was. But you know, he starred in the movie A Face in the Crowd, which shows you, I don't know how many people have seen that nowadays, but that was a very different side of Andy. But he had this in his heart, all these characters in his heart and his soul, and he really was a major force of that show, being real, making it happen.
Is there anything else about the shows that your tour that you wanted to say that I didn't ask you?
Well, you know, I think it's surprising for people because they think of my dad as Barney Fife. People really do. And that's the reason why I wanted to do the show and the book, is to make them understand that Don Knotts was a fascinating person in his own right. And what they come away from, what they also come away from is a true appreciation of what Don Knotts was like. And he was amazing. He was incredibly charming and funny and unique as his own character. In a way, it's kind of unfortunate he was overshadowed by Barney Fife, so nobody ever got to see that. So that's what the main purpose of my writing the show and the book is, for people to get to know him as a person and as a father.
Do you go into like his hobbies, what he did on the regular, or just more so him?
I go into, it's mostly about him as a dad. You know, what it was like growing up with him as a dad, and who he was, and some of the relationships he had with women and so forth. And just our overall growth together as father and daughter. That's what it's mainly about.
Thank you.
Yes.